It's been so long since my last video. I shaved, at least once. Hey everyone, it's Graeme Street. You're joining me here on my YouTube channel or on cyclecore.com. Yeah, it's been several months since my last video. I've been riding my ass off, quite literally. I've been riding probably more this year in 2015 than in 30 years of being an everyday cyclist. And let me tell you, I've been having a blast. I've been going off-road, I've been going on gravel, I've been doing multi-day adventures, no registration fees, no races, no obligations, nothing to prove other than to have a blast on the bike. And as a result, I would say my fitness this year has topped them all. And more importantly, my enjoyment level, how much I've been smiling while on my bikes, has been something that I can't put a price tag on. Today what I want to go over with you is some things that I actually just recently witnessed and have been witnessing over the years at a gravel grinder that I did this past weekend. This was a donation for a local charity up in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, a place that I've actually never ridden my bike before. I've ridden all over Massachusetts and all over Connecticut and Vermont, across the entire state of Vermont, actually just recently this year. That's a whole different story. One of the things that I noticed, this is about a 55, 56 mile gravel grinder. Man, this thing was awesome. It's called the F2G2, the Fall Foliage Gravel Grinder. Really small event, maybe 100, 150 people. Again, I did a donation for this. I got called in the last minute to come and do this. I actually wasn't even planning on going. Turned out to be probably one of the best courses I have ever ridden on my bike. I rode on my gravel bike, my 9er RLT, which I did some tips and reviews about, I think on my last video here. This is not the bike that I rode here. I did not ride a full suspension, 6-inch travel, all mountain bike, but we'll talk about that here in a second. One of the things that I noticed is roadie versus non-roadie on gravel, or I guess you would call it off-road conditions. I can usually tell a true roadie on an off-road condition, usually by a couple telltale signs right away. Usually, first of all, they're struggling. It's the first way I can tell that they probably haven't spent a lot of time on gravel roads or pave, Jeep roads. Here in New England, I got lots of video that I'm producing a video with all the gravel grinding that I did this year and years past. So be on the lookout for that. But, for us, gravel is an interesting term because a lot of times we're not even on gravel. We are on full-on Jeep track or even sometimes single track. So it can be really jarring, and obviously we're all on basically either road bikes or gravel bikes. For roadies, a lot of times what will happen is they just don't have the upper body strength and the core strength transferring over from the road. And it goes without saying that, being a 30-year road cycling veteran, I can tell you the difference between off-road riding, whether it's mountain or gravel, compared to on-road riding, the demanding through your core, through your hips, through your upper shoulders, your neck, is extreme. It's a lot different. So a lot of you that are moving over into this category, you want to get a little bit more durable, which is a lot of what I offer in my Cycle 90 programs, whether you're a roadie, mountain biker, gravel grinder, all of the above, like myself, is we want to make your body more durable. We got to connect the kinetic chain between your feet, your knees, your hips, your spinal column, your core, shoulders, upper back, and head. That energy flow, that strength, is what allows us to go on any course, roadie, mountain bike, gravel, or otherwise, and have a better time. I can tell the mountain bikers right away, or people that have spent more time this year or years past on a gravel bike, because of their stature on the bicycle. First of all, they're much more positioned correctly on a gravel bike. Their back looks strong, their head is up, the roadies tend to be sagged over, their back is drooping down. You can tell that they're in pain. And it's not just because the pave was beating them up. It's because the training that's involved to get to that level of riding on gravel or riding on tougher terrain, even on small little, fine stone gravel. And this particular course, every road we seemed to turn on had a different setup. Some of it was tacky and muddy. Others of what were small chunks of loose fine gravel. And we had some roads that literally, we had gravel pieces that were 10, 20 inches big. I mean, this was like for full-on mountain biking. A lot of hike biking for a lot of roadies. A lot of us, more seasoned with off-road, have the ability to kind of float over some of that stuff a little bit easier. a lot of people that come over into the gravel or off-road category will struggle at first because a lot of roadies tend to sit heavy on the bike. Okay, so if you look at a roadie, 95% of the time, they're what? They're in the saddle. Their weight is distributed amongst the three platforms, the handlebars, the saddle, and the pedals for the duration of most of the ride. When you ride gravel or you ride off-road, ask any mountain biker or gravel grinder will tell you, probably 50% of your time, you have to be literally levitating off of the saddle. Or either A, you're gonna get beat to shit, or B, you're gonna pinch flat and be off the road changing tires all day. It's your choice. So this change in how we ride takes some time. It took time for me. I've been riding mountain bike, for the past decade. So that part of levitation off the bike, pulling up the bike, being light on the bike, the harder the terrain got, the lighter I was on the bike. This takes practice. It also takes a good amount of strength. Again, so for the cyclo-core work, my cyclo-iron work in Cyclo 90 Masters or Cyclo 90 Base will help you tremendously in 10-15 minutes, like twice a week, no excuses. It'll help you with the road cycling for climbing, power, endurance, but for people looking to venture off-road, it will help dramatically. And again, like this past weekend, when I would be in the same vicinity of mountain bikers, gravel grinders, and roadies, you could tell at least again, I'm always observant when I'm riding with others because it's how I learn how I can help you and help other riders get better. And you could tell the differences right away. The road biker, slumped over, fatigued, not very happy. The gravel grinder, probably right in his element for most roads, but I could still even tell a true gravel grinder was having trouble on this particular course because it required some mountain biking skills. We had a lot of rain the day before. In fact, we had a lot of rain. So we had muddy conditions. We had really tough single track and Jeep roads. I think when most people think about gravel, they think about these beautiful, graded gravel roads for, mile after mile, or like, dirty Kanza, like, 200 miles worth of gravel availability. Most of us don't have that. Most of us have these semi-quasi roads. They're not really gravel roads, they're not really dirt roads, there's something in between. And this makes up a lot of my type of riding. So for me, having mountain biking skills helps a lot with that. Because I'm now letting the bike do a lot more of the work for me as opposed to me doing more of the work to get the bike to move. And that's the major difference between a roadie or someone that's primarily on the road moving over to off-road or gravel versus someone that's coming from more of a mountain biking background moving towards gravel. I'll be honest with you, if you're more of a mountain biker moving to gravel, it'll be much easier. If you're a roadie moving to gravel, there will be some changes that have to be made, but I will say that the irony will be is that a roadie moving to true gravel riding or dirt road riding actually has the potential to do a lot better because they're used to doing longer stage events. A lot of mountain bikers are kind of used to going out for that 90-minute stint, maybe 2 hours. Roadies are used to going out for 3, 4, 5 hours. So that level of endurance and muscular endurance can have benefits, plus or minus. I know for myself this year, I've done less than, I want to say 400 or 500 miles total on the road the entire year out of almost 5,000 accumulated miles. And again, I don't really give a shit about miles. I care about quality of time. But this is the first year I've actually paid attention. Like, hey, I'm not paying attention to miles, but I've done more miles than I think I ever have in the past decade. And one of the reasons for that is I've been enjoying myself on the bike. I've been taking lefts as opposed to rights. I've been purposely getting lost on my rides. I've been doing lots of self-imposed goals on the bike, particularly in the gravel and off-road category. I've done multi-day events where I've set up 2, 3, 5, 6 days, 7 days in a row of continually harder and harder riding. And that's allowed me to not only get stronger, but ironically have more fun on the bike, and my recovery rate has improved dramatically. And one of the reasons I've seen an improvement in my recovery rate, and I'm turning 40, literally in 10 days I turned 40, so I'm catching up to a lot of you that I know are much older than I am, and I've been on the bike a lot longer than I have as well. One of the priorities that I have always strived for with my customers and my programs is when we train, we want to train to get strong as quickly as we can and then get the hell out and recover. Boom, recover, boom, recover. As opposed to this long, drawn out, endless amounts of accumulation of time as opposed to accumulation of fitness. There's a difference, and I think as a result of this tactic, the Cycle 90 base, Cycle 90 in season, my whole agenda is to never put you in a position where recovery cannot be beaten. So because if we're constantly beating our recovery phases, we're going to see this downward trend in how we feel. So for me, I mean, just 3 weeks ago, rode with Big Tim, my training buddy here, on a 170-mile epic. I mean, it was an odyssey. One day across the entire state of Vermont, from southern Vermont to Kingdom Trails. Kingdom Trails are up in the tip of Vermont, just about in Canada. Then we rode for 3 all mountain on these bikes, trail rides in the Kingdom Trails in Vermont. Some of the best mountain bike riding on the East Coast. No fatigue, no pain, no discomfort, instant recovery. Why? Well, first of all, I was having fun. I mean, you're having fun, recovery speeds up real quick. There is an emotional connection between your brain and how fast your body reacts. So if you're constantly under stress with work, kids, life, bills, whatever, and trust me, I've been there, in fact, always still there, it takes a toll. And I'm getting a little off tangent, but the reason I want to share this with you is that if you want to diversify your cycling, I know many of you do and have been doing so, your first objective is to focus on here. You stay happy, you stay in touch with yourself, where, hey, is all of a sudden today's ride turning into a work session as opposed to a session that's going to give me future enjoyment? That's a big deal. For me now, when I train and push myself hard for the hopes of future enjoyment. That's why I do it. So if I want to go out, today for a 6-hour enduro on my mountain bike by myself, which I may be doing later on today, all the training that I've done, or all the rides that I've done, or all the workouts that I've done with CycleCore or Cycle 90 are there to provide a smile while I'm doing something really fun. And that's an important caveat of cycling that I think a lot of people will tend to miss. I want to go really back to 2 questions here concerning roadies versus off-road roadies. Okay, and maybe that's the better way to think about it is you can be both. You can still be a hardcore roadie, group rides, races, crits, centuries, double centuries, but then diverging that same road bike with a little bit thicker, tires, a little bit lower pressure, and beginning to channel yourself off-road, begin to make that merger over, find some new roads less traveled, so to speak. Here's some questions from 2 different riders. Graeme, I'm in my 2nd year of mountain biking and interested in getting stronger. Does your Cycle 90 program only cater to roadies? I know for years a lot of you felt that I was only catering to roadies with my programs, mostly because I had pictures of me on a road bike or things like that. And I won't lie, for the past 30 years, the primary focus of my cycling has been road specific. However, over the past decade, and particularly over the past 3 years, I've spent less and less time on the road. And there's a chance I may not return to the road, and it's for several different reasons. One is only the one that's important to me. Number one, I'm just not enjoying the road bike as much as I used to. It doesn't offer me the challenge that I once did. To go out, it's kind of like road running. I don't road run anymore. I only trail run. I might get on a road here and there to get between trail sections, but I don't go for road runs. And same reason for cycling. I'm just not enjoying it right now. It's not offering me a challenge. I've become so focused on speed and pace that all the enjoyment for me has dovetailed out of there. So for me, getting off-road on trail or on new territory, new turf, new dirt roads, now pace becomes irrelevant because these roads are so different that you begin to only focus on, am I having fun? Am I riding strong? Am I taking care of my body? Am I recovering quickly? Now your riding begins to take on a different feel. In relation to mountain bikers versus roadies, I'll be real simple with this. Roadie, mountain biker, gravel grinder, I don't give a shit. Whatever venue you want, the Cycle 90 base, and in particular the Cycle 90 Masters base, is universal. I know a lot of us want to believe, well, I have to have specific types of training during the base phase, or mountain bike versus road versus gravel versus, tricycle. Wrong. Dead wrong. Any coach that tries to sell you that bullshit is dead wrong. Universal principles in the bike remain the same in all categories, period. Muscular endurance, core development, pedaling technique, leg speed drills, threshold performance. All of these things are ubiquitous and universal for everyday cyclists. Once we get past the base phase and the strength is there, and the functionality is there, and the pedaling technique is there, the vibrance is there in your body, the recovery rate is there in your body. Now we can begin to diversify our targeted training into more segmented portions. This is where the Cycle 90 in-season system comes into play, and the newer, more updated Cycle 90 Masters in-season, which is definitely hyper-specific for everything from XC racing, multi-day riding, gravel grinding, time trialing, road racing, road endurance. I mean, every category and then some, all coached within the program. And what really tends to happen is I use some similar workouts between them, but how and what I use becomes more important. So many of you that are pure mountain bikers, like Nino here, would stand to benefit from some added road training as well. Doesn't mean you have to go buy a road bike. In fact, you could take your mountain bike and do a lot of road sequences, or just longer of gravel grinding on a mountain bike is a great way to get the benefits of longer duration muscular endurance that most people get from road cycling. So for me, I would never stop doing longer, more road-like rides, but I'll probably be doing them more off-road in style on either my gravel bike or on my 29er mountain bikes. And I'm doing that because, again, it keeps me safer. I enjoy it more. It's more adventurous for me. It's more pretty. I don't have to worry about cars beeping at me, honking at me. Not all of us have that available in our area, but it's something to consider, especially as we hit moving into off-season for a lot of us. Second question here, Graeme, I've been following your soul cycling this year, and I've started doing more gravel and dirt road rides. I know many of you have been doing that. I'm getting pain in my back, my neck, and my shoulders. Ideas on what I can do about it, Dan. Dan, first of all, if you're riding a regular road bike on extended portions of gravel or, off-road style environments, good chance that the geometry on the bike is causing that upper neck pain, okay? A lot of us tend to ride lower on a road bike than we would typically on a gravel bike. And as a result of that both the head tube angle, the fork rake, and how you have your cockpit set up will dictate how your body will ride on that gravel. We don't want to be riding on gravel like this for a lot of time. We want to be riding a little bit more upright, a little bit more strengthened to our core and to our shoulder and upper back development. And again, if you're coming from a pure roadie background, that development might be a little bit off. Where if you were coming from more of a mountain bike background, that strength will be a little bit more inherent and help you out. So these things have to be worked on. This is where during Cycle 90 base, the core training, the cycle iron workouts become ultra important, because they'll really help you begin to develop that kinetic chain in a much stronger, more durable setup. So you might put on a pound or two of muscle, but I guarantee you that pound or two of muscle is not just going to make you more powerful. It's going to make you more durable. It doesn't matter how much your threshold is or how much power you have if your body breaks down at hour 3 of a 6-hour ride. I keep trying to remind people of this again and again and again. Well, Graeme, I did my 10-minute indoor FTP test, and my threshold was 280 watts. That must mean I've improved because it went from 260 to 280. You're right. For 10 minutes, great. You want to go out and do 4-hour slugfests on a gravel bike or on a road bike. 10 minutes is not going to give you an indicator truly of how functional your body is. And threshold's only one component. I mean, the ride that I did on Sunday with Tim and Jen, the F2G2, 56 miles, almost 6,000 feet of vert over gnarly shit. It took us 4 hours to do it. That's at elite pace, 13.5 miles an hour. And that's fast on this course. My threshold, was I using threshold? No. Durability, viability, sustainability, repeatability. These are the things that get that kind of ride done. Threshold becomes a backdrop at that point. I wasn't monitoring my heart rate at this point. I can literally tell you my heart rate on any given ride at any moment, plus or minus 2 beats, anytime. If you don't believe me, fly into Essex, Connecticut, come ride with me, bring a monitor so you can monitor me, and I'll bet you dinner and a beer, maybe 2 beers, that I'll be able to be plus or minus 2 beats. And the reason for that is that these things are practiced. This training is practiced in advance, so when you go and do your events, you can now have more fun. I don't want to be sitting there staring at my heart rate monitor or my power meter when I'm out doing a fall foliage gravel grinder. I want to be looking at how freaking beautiful it is. And man, that road was incredible. Oh my God, I almost ate it on that descent. Or that climb was unlike any other climb that I've done this year. Me and Big Tim had to dismount and walk our bikes up 2 of these gnarly ascents. We haven't had to walk our bike all year. So this was something that was different, something that was fun, something to give us a smile, something to give us a serious challenge. I mean, it was a big deal. My point is simple. I need coffee, big time. If you're roadie, start trying to diverge a little bit, have some more fun. Take some of the stress out of your road riding. The people constantly behind you, honking and beeping. The group rides with this constant, cockfest going on. I'm done with that. I haven't done a group ride actually since my little incident there in May. In fact, ironically, this year, since I did that podcast about group ride etiquette, there's been multiple accidents here in my state and around my area, multiple within group ride dynamics. That's not to say don't go do group rides, but I know for myself, that's a thing of the past. And when we did our ride this past weekend, granted I was with Tim and Jen, 2 people that I know on the bike very well, so a strong mental connection, which to me is very important. I won't ride with people unless I know I have a mental connection with them. It's too dangerous. You need to have almost an unspoken language between you and your partner on a bike. And plus when you're riding gravel or off-road, we're not really riding in, a pace line or echelons, because the pace, number one, is so slow based on the terrain. And because of the types of roads that we ride on, there's potholes galore, obstacles galore. The last thing you want to do is be 2 inches off someone's front, rear wheel when you're hauling ass at 18 miles an hour on a gravel road that you've never been on before. Bad idea. We separate, we stagnate, and every time we do hit a road sequence, we might partner up for a little bit, get a little bit of a break or a rotation. But in general, we're much safer by being diverged, and that's an important sequence. If you're more of a mountain biker and you're constantly doing trails, trail riding, doing 5 days a week on this thing, on all mountain terrain, I'll pass. I love riding on tough trail. I'm not very good at it, but I'm getting better. I would take the same mountain bike and I'd have maybe 2 days of, on the gravel, longer stints of muscular endurance, or again, not worrying about trail environments and then flip-flopping back over. A lot of you mountain bikers don't tend to do that. You tend to just stick very focused on trail or nothing. And I think it's a weakness of yours, because if you begin to divert a little bit more to using that gravel in between, you're going to begin to gain a lot of fitness benefits on the trails, because now your muscular endurance will be up, your form and function will be up, your pedaling technique and sustainability will be up, and that has huge ramifications for you out there on the bike. My friends, I've been talking way too long, but this is what happens when I haven't done a video in a while. If you got questions for me, post them here in the vid. I can't get back to everybody, of course. If you're looking for a program to start with me, if you're a newbie to my programming, Cyclo Core training, Cyclo 90 training, start with the Cyclo 90 base, my original program. I've served literally, almost 100,000 cyclists with that program, to my knowledge. The Master's Edition is a little bit more upgraded, a little bit more coaching, HD quality video. So you can still start there. But just know that it's definitely going to be an enhanced version of my older program. And those of you that are shifting into the in-season for specific goals, you finished your base phase, you want to attack, a gravel event, a mountain bike event, a multi-day event, your own soul riding, you want to move into the Cyclo 90 Masters in-season system, which is what I've been using pretty much all year long since I finished up the base. And that divergence from the regular road conditions has been a blast. So basically, again, my friends, with a smile on your face, sorry for the long video. But that's what I do, man. I'll talk to you soon.